Long ago, a young child sat by the fire, wide-eyed, as their elder told the story of Icarus, the boy who flew too close to the sun. As the tale unfolded, the child learned not just about wax wings and fiery skies, but about the dangers of hubris and the importance of humility. This wasn't just a story, it was a lesson carefully woven into a myth that has echoed through the ages. And this is exactly what mythology has done for centuries. It has been a bridge between generations, a vessel for wisdom, and a mirror reflecting the values that shape societies. From the cautionary tales of ancient Greece to the moral parables of India's epics, myths have been more than just entertainment. They've been tools for teaching, guiding, and inspiring. They've helped people understand right from wrong, courage from recklessness, and humanity's place in the world. But here's the question. In a world filled with technology and modern dilemmas, what can these ancient stories still teach us? In this video, we'll explore how civilizations across time used mythology to impart morality and life lessons, and we'll uncover the threads that connect these ancient tales to the values we hold today. Together, we'll journey through the power of storytelling, discovering how these timeless narratives continue to shape our understanding of ethics, behavior, and the human experience. So, let's step into the world of myths where every story holds a lesson, and every lesson holds a truth. Before the written word, before books, or even the faintest scratchings on stone, there was the spoken story. Picture this, a group of early humans huddled together under a star-lit sky, the crackle of a fire filling the air as a storyteller weaves a tale of gods, heroes, and the mysteries of the natural world. This was the birthplace of mythology, a tradition born not in libraries or classrooms, but in the shared spaces of communal life. These stories were more than just entertainment. They were survival tools, crafted to explain the unexplainable and to teach lessons that would guide entire communities. In those early days, myths served as a kind of ancient instruction manual. They helped people make sense of the world around them, why the sun rose and set, why the seasons changed, or why storms raged across the skies. But beyond explaining nature, myths also shaped how people lived together. They taught the importance of cooperation, the dangers of greed, and the rewards of courage. A story about a hero who sacrificed everything for their tribe wasn't just a thrilling adventure. It was a lesson in selflessness and loyalty. And in a world without formal education, these stories were the textbooks of their time. The storytellers themselves held a sacred role. They weren't just entertainers, they were keepers of wisdom, the living libraries of their communities. Through their words, they preserved the values, traditions, and knowledge of their people, passing them down from one generation to the next. A single storyteller could hold the collective memory of an entire culture, ensuring that the lessons of the past were never forgotten. And as societies grew and changed, so did the stories. Myths evolved, reflecting new challenges, new values, and new ways of understanding the world. But here's what's fascinating. Even as these stories changed, certain themes remained constant. Across cultures, across continents, myths kept returning to the same universal truths. The struggle between good and evil, the quest for meaning, and the delicate balance between humans and the forces beyond their control. These recurring motifs suggest something profound, that despite our differences, humans have always grappled with the same fundamental questions about life, morality, and our place in the universe. And as we'll see, these timeless themes are what make mythology so enduring, so relevant, even in our modern world. One of the most striking aspects of mythology is how often the same themes appear across vastly different cultures. Take, for example, the hero's journey, a narrative pattern where an ordinary individual embarks on a quest, faces trials, and returns transformed. This archetype isn't confined to Greek myths like the Odyssey or the labors of Hercules. You'll find it in the stories of Native American heroes, African legends, and even in the epic tales of Asia. It's as if, no matter where you look, humans have been drawn to the idea of the hero, someone who rises above challenges to bring wisdom, hope, or change to their people. Then there's the timeless struggle between good and evil, a theme that seems to echo in every corner of the world. In Greek mythology, this battle is often represented by gods like Zeus, who uphold order, and figures like the Titans, who embody chaos. But this duality isn't unique to the Greeks. In Cherokee tradition, the story of the first fire tells of a brave little water spider who risks everything to bring fire to her people, outwitting the forces of darkness. These stories, though set in different worlds, share a common thread: the idea that light and darkness are locked in an eternal dance, and that courage and sacrifice are needed to tip the balance toward good. Hubris, or excessive pride, is another recurring theme that transcends cultures. The Greek myth of Icarus warns of the dangers of overreaching, but so does the story of Prometheus, who defies the gods to bring fire to humanity and suffers eternal punishment for his boldness. Yet, this isn't just a Greek idea. In Hindu mythology, the demon king Ravana's arrogance leads to his downfall, while in Norse legends, Loki's trickery and pride often backfire, causing chaos for gods and mortals alike. These tales aren't just cautionary, they're mirrors reflecting the consequences of unchecked ambition and the importance of humility. What's fascinating is how these universal themes reveal something deeper about humanity. They show us that despite our differences, people across time and space have wrestled with the same questions. What does it mean to be brave? How do we confront our flaws? What happens when we overstep our bounds? These narratives aren't just entertaining, they're profound explorations of the human condition, offering insights that still resonate today. But here's the thing, while these themes are universal, the way they're told is deeply tied to the cultures that shaped them. Myths weren't just abstract stories, they were crafted to address the specific needs, values, and challenges of the societies that told them. A story about the importance of community might be central to a tribe living in harsh conditions, while a tale about individual heroism might flourish in a culture that prized personal achievement. In this way, myths became more than just lessons. They were tools for survival, adaptation, and growth. And as we'll see next, these stories didn't just reflect the values of their time, they actively shaped them, molding the way people saw themselves and their world. Myths are more than just stories, they're reflections of the societies that birthed them. Think of them as ancient mirrors, capturing the values, fears, and aspirations of the people who told them. Take Norse mythology, for example. In a world of harsh winters and constant threats, survival depended on strength, courage, and loyalty. It's no surprise, then, that their myths celebrated heroes like Thor, who wielded his hammer not just to defeat giants but to protect his people. These stories weren't just exciting adventures, they were blueprints for living, teaching the importance of bravery, honor, and the unbreakable bonds of community. In a society where survival was never guaranteed, these tales reminded people of what it meant to be strong, both individually and collectively. On the other side of the world, in ancient India, myths took on a different tone. Here, the concept of dharma, duty, and moral order was central to life. Stories from the Mahabharata and the Ramayana weren't just epic battles or divine interventions. They were lessons in how to navigate the complexities of human relationships and responsibilities. Take the story of Arjuna, the warrior prince who hesitates to fight his own family in battle. Through the guidance of Krishna, he learns that fulfilling one's duty, even when it's painful, is the highest form of righteousness. This wasn't just a personal lesson, it was a societal one, reinforcing the idea that everyone had a role to play in maintaining harmony and order. Myths didn't just reflect societal values, they actively shaped them. In Mesopotamia, the Code of Hammurabi, one of the earliest known legal systems, was said to be handed down by the gods themselves. This divine origin wasn't just a way to legitimize the laws, it was a way to embed them in the cultural fabric. By tying laws to mythology, rulers could ensure that their people saw them not as arbitrary rules but as sacred obligations. Myths became a way to justify customs, laws, and even hierarchies, creating a shared understanding of what was right and wrong. But myths didn't just uphold the status quo, they also provided a safe space to explore fears and anxieties. Stories of monsters, chaos, and downfall often mirrored the uncertainties of life. The Greek myth of Pandora's box, for instance, isn't just about curiosity, it's a reflection of humanity's fear of the unknown and the consequences of our actions. Similarly, the Norse tale of Ragnarok, the apocalyptic battle that ends the world, speaks to a deep-seated fear of destruction and the inevitability of change. These stories allowed people to confront their fears in a controlled way, offering both warnings and hope. What's remarkable is how myths adapted to the needs of their societies. In times of stability, they might emphasize harmony and order, like the Hindu concept of dharma. But in times of upheaval, they could shift to focus on resilience and survival, like the Norse sagas. This adaptability made myths not just static tales but living, evolving tools for understanding the world and our place in it. And while myths often reinforced social norms, they also had the power to challenge them. Take the story of Antigone in Greek mythology, who defies the king to bury her brother, upholding divine law over human decree. Her act of defiance wasn't just a personal rebellion, it was a commentary on the tension between individual morality and societal authority. These stories provided a way to question and critique the systems they were born into, offering a space for reflection and dialogue. As we move forward, we'll explore how these myths were used to teach specific moral lessons, shaping not just societies but individuals. From the trials of Hercules to the wisdom of the Buddha, these narratives continue to offer timeless insights into what it means to live a good life. So let's dive deeper into the lessons these ancient stories hold and discover how they still speak to us today. Myths have always been masterful at showing, not just telling, the consequences of our actions. They don't just preach about right and wrong, they paint vivid pictures of what happens when we stray from the path of virtue. Take the Greek myth of Narcissus, for instance. This young man, blessed with extraordinary beauty, becomes so obsessed with his own reflection that he wastes away, unable to tear himself from the sight of it. His story isn't just a cautionary tale about vanity. It's a stark reminder of how self-absorption can isolate us from the world and ultimately lead to our downfall. Through Narcissus, ancient Greeks learned that self-love, when unchecked, becomes a prison rather than a gift. But myths don't just focus on individual flaws, they also explore the ripple effects of our choices on others. Consider the Egyptian tale of Set and Osiris. Set, consumed by jealousy, betrays his brother Osiris, leading to a cycle of violence and revenge that shakes the very foundation of their world. This story isn't just about one act of betrayal, it's about the chaos that follows when trust is broken. Through this myth, ancient Egyptians were taught the importance of loyalty and the devastating consequences of envy and deceit. It's a lesson that resonates even today. Our actions, good or bad, have far-reaching impacts on those around us. What makes these stories so powerful is their ability to show the direct link between actions and outcomes. Myths don't leave room for ambiguity. They present clear cause and effect relationships that make the lessons impossible to ignore. When Icarus ignores his father's warning and flies too close to the sun, his wax wings melt and he plummets into the sea. The message is unmistakable. Hubris leads to destruction. These narratives don't just tell us what's right or wrong. they show us the tangible results of our choices, making the moral lessons stick in a way that abstract rules never could. And it's not just about avoiding bad behavior. Myths also highlight the rewards of virtue. In the story of King Midas, his initial greed leads to disaster when everything he touches turns to gold, including his food and his beloved daughter. But it's only when he learns to value love and humanity over wealth that he's able to undo the curse. This tale doesn't just warn against greed, it also celebrates the transformative power of humility and gratitude. By showing both the pitfalls of vice and the rewards of virtue, myths create a balanced moral framework that guides listeners toward better choices. These stories weren't just entertainment, they were tools for shaping behavior. When a myth like that of Narcissus or Set was told, it wasn't just to pass the time, it was to instill a sense of accountability. By showing the consequences of actions, myths provided a moral compass, helping people navigate the complexities of life. They taught that every choice, no matter how small, carries weight, and that virtue is its own reward. But myths didn't stop at teaching what not to do, they also inspired listeners to cultivate positive traits. Stories of heroes like Hercules, who endure immense trials to achieve greatness, or figures like the Buddha, who renounce worldly pleasures in search of enlightenment, encouraged virtues like courage, perseverance, and humility. These narratives didn't just warn against vice, they celebrated the strength of character needed to overcome life's challenges. In doing so, they offered more than just lessons. They offered hope, showing that even in the face of adversity, we have the power to choose a better path. As we'll see next, these moral lessons weren't just abstract ideas, they were woven into the very fabric of daily life, shaping everything from personal behavior to societal norms. So, let's explore how myths moved beyond storytelling to become a living, breathing part of the cultures that cherished them. Mythological heroes aren't just larger-than-life figures, they're mirrors of the virtues societies hold dear. Their stories aren't just about grand adventures, they're masterclasses in courage, loyalty, and perseverance, showing us what it means to rise above challenges and embody the best of what it means to be human. Take Hercules, for example. His 12 labors weren't just a test of strength, they were a journey of redemption and self-discovery. Each task, from slaying the Nemean lion to capturing the golden hind, demanded not just physical prowess but also resilience, humility, and a willingness to face the unknown. Through his trials, Hercules teaches us that true heroism isn't about being invincible, it's about enduring hardship and emerging stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. Then there's Rama, the hero of the Indian epic, the Ramayana. His story is a profound exploration of duty and devotion. When Rama is exiled to the forest, he doesn't protest or seek revenge. He accepts his fate with grace, embodying the virtue of dharma, fulfilling one's duty no matter the cost. His unwavering loyalty to his wife, Sita, and his commitment to righteousness, even in the face of immense personal suffering, make him a timeless symbol of moral integrity. Rama's journey isn't just a tale of heroism, it's a blueprint for living a life guided by principles and compassion. And let's not forget Mulan, the legendary Chinese warrior who disguised herself as a man to take her father's place in the army. Her story is a powerful testament to courage and sacrifice, but it's also a celebration of ingenuity and determination. Mulan's bravery isn't just about fighting battles, it's about challenging societal norms and proving that strength and honor aren't defined by gender. Her journey reminds us that true heroism often requires breaking barriers and standing up for what's right, even when the odds are stacked against you. These heroes aren't just characters in old stories, they're role models, embodying the ideals that societies have aspired to for centuries. Their struggles and triumphs serve as allegories for our own lives, showing us that growth often comes through adversity. When Hercules faces the Hydra, it's not just a battle with a monster, It's a metaphor for confronting the parts of ourselves that seem impossible to overcome. When Rama resists the temptations of power and stays true to his values, it's a reminder that integrity is its own reward. And when Mulan steps into a world that doesn't accept her, it's a lesson in courage and the power of self-belief. But myths don't just celebrate the bright side of human nature, they also confront its darker aspects. Alongside the tales of heroic virtue, there are stories of jealousy, greed, and betrayal, reminding us that no one is without flaws. Even Hercules, in his moments of rage and despair, shows us the consequences of letting our darker impulses take control. These narratives don't shy away from the complexities of human behavior. Instead, they hold up a mirror, showing us both the heights we can reach and the pitfalls we must avoid. In this way, myths offer a balanced view of humanity, celebrating our potential for greatness while acknowledging our capacity for error. They remind us that the journey to becoming our best selves isn't linear, it's filled with challenges, setbacks, and moments of doubt. But it's precisely through these struggles that we grow, learning to embody the virtues that myths so powerfully illustrate. As we continue, we'll explore how these stories didn't just shape individuals, they shaped entire cultures, embedding these values into the very fabric of society. So let's step deeper into the world of myths, where every hero's journey is a lesson, and every lesson is a step toward understanding ourselves and the world around us. In myths, heroes often take center stage, but it's the villains who bring the stakes to life. These antagonistic figures aren't just obstacles for heroes to overcome. They're symbolic representations of the darker sides of human nature, embodying traits like greed, jealousy, and arrogance. Their stories serve as cautionary tales, showing us the destructive consequences of giving in to these flaws. Take Loki, the trickster god of Norse mythology. While his cunning and mischief often lead to chaos, his ultimate downfall comes from his inability to control his own envy and thirst for power. Loki's story isn't just about a troublemaker getting his comeuppance. It's a stark reminder that unchecked ambition and deceit can unravel even the most powerful beings. His fate warns us of the dangers of living without integrity, urging us to reflect on our own actions and motives. Then there's Medusa, the Gorgon from Greek mythology, whose tale is often misunderstood. Once a beautiful priestess, she was transformed into a monster as punishment for a crime she didn't commit. While she's often portrayed as a terrifying figure, her story also evokes empathy, revealing how injustice and cruelty can twist even the innocent into something monstrous. Medusa's downfall serves as a lesson not just about the consequences of vanity, as some versions suggest, but also about the dangers of unchecked power and the harm caused by those who wield it carelessly. Her story challenges us to look beyond the surface, reminding us that villains are sometimes victims of circumstance, and that understanding their pain can lead to greater compassion. Ravana, the demon king from the Indian epic, the Ramayana, is another fascinating example. With his 10 heads and immense power, Ravana represents the ultimate embodiment of arrogance and ego. His abduction of Sita, Rama's wife, sets the stage for his eventual downfall, but his story is more than just a black and white battle of good versus evil. Ravana is also a scholar, a devoted follower of Shiva, and a complex figure whose tragic flaw is his inability to control his desires. His defeat by Rama isn't just a victory of good over evil. It's a reminder that even the most powerful can fall when they let their pride and greed overshadow their virtues. Ravana's story teaches us that true strength lies in humility and self-control, not in the pursuit of power for its own sake. What makes these villains so compelling is their complexity. While they embody negative traits, their stories often invite us to see them as more than just one-dimensional antagonists. Loki's wit and resourcefulness make him strangely likable, Medusa's tragic backstory evokes sympathy, and Ravana's intellect and devotion add layers to his character. These nuances remind us that morality isn't always black and white. It's a spectrum, and even those who fall on the darker side can teach us valuable lessons about empathy, accountability, and the human condition. But myths don't just focus on the individual, they also use villains to explore broader themes of community and cooperation. Many myths highlight how the actions of one person, particularly a villain, can ripple through an entire society, disrupting harmony and causing widespread suffering. The fall of a villain often serves as a rallying point, bringing people together to restore balance and order. In this way, myths teach us that morality isn't just a personal responsibility, it's a collective one. The stories of these cautionary figures remind us that our choices, good or bad, affect not just ourselves but the world around us, reinforcing the importance of working together to uphold shared values. As we move forward, we'll see how myths extend these lessons beyond individual behavior, shaping the way entire communities understood their roles and responsibilities. From tales of teamwork to stories of collective resilience, myths have always been about more than just individuals. They've been about the ties that bind us and the strength we find in unity. So let's explore how these ancient stories taught the importance of community and how they continue to inspire us to build better, more connected societies today. Myths have always been more than just individual journeys. They're about the ties that bind us together. Consider the Babylonian epic, the Enuma Elish, which tells the story of how the gods themselves had to unite to create order out of chaos. In this tale, the younger gods band together to defeat Tiamat, the primordial goddess of the ocean, who represents chaos and destruction. It's not a story of one hero's triumph, but of collective effort, showing how even the divine must work in harmony to overcome the forces of disorder. For the ancient Babylonians, this wasn't just a cosmic battle, it was a lesson about the importance of unity in the face of challenges, teaching that no one, not even the gods, can succeed alone. Similarly, the African folktales of Anansi the spider often revolve around themes of cooperation and cleverness. Anansi, a trickster figure, frequently finds himself in situations where his wit alone isn't enough to solve a problem. In many stories, he relies on the help of others, whether it's his family, friends, or even his adversaries. These tales aren't just about outsmarting others, they're about recognizing when to lean on the strengths of those around you. Through Anansi's adventures, listeners learn that true wisdom lies not just in individual brilliance, but in knowing how to build alliances and work together toward a common goal. What makes these stories so powerful is their ability to show both the rewards of cooperation and the consequences of discord. In the Enuma Elish, the gods' unity leads to the creation of the world, a symbol of order and balance. But in myths where cooperation breaks down, chaos often follows. Take the Greek tale of the Trojan War, where petty rivalries and personal egos lead to years of bloodshed and destruction. Myths like these serve as stark reminders that when individuals or groups prioritize their own interests over the collective good, the outcome is rarely favorable. They teach us that harmony isn't just a lofty ideal, it's a necessity for survival and progress. But myths don't stop at human relationships, they also explore the connection between humanity and the divine. In many cultures, myths served as a bridge between the earthly and the spiritual, emphasizing the idea that humans and gods are interconnected. For example, in the Egyptian myth of Maat, the goddess of truth and balance, harmony isn't just a social value, it's a cosmic principle. The pharaohs were seen as earthly representatives of Maat, tasked with maintaining order and justice in their kingdom. This idea of divine responsibility reinforced the notion that every individual had a role in upholding the balance of the universe, creating a sense of shared purpose that extended beyond the human realm. In Hindu mythology, the concept of dharma, moral duty, ties individuals not just to their communities but to the cosmos itself. Stories like the Mahabharata illustrate how fulfilling one's dharma contributes to the greater good, ensuring that the world remains in harmony. Even when faced with impossible choices, characters like Arjuna are reminded that their actions ripple outward, affecting not just their own lives but the balance of the entire universe. These myths teach that cooperation isn't just about working with others. It's about aligning oneself with a higher purpose, recognizing that our actions have consequences far beyond what we can see. Through these stories, myths offer a profound understanding of the interconnectedness of all things. They show us that unity isn't just a human ideal, it's a reflection of the natural and spiritual order of the world. By emphasizing the importance of cooperation, both among people and between humanity and the divine, myths provide a roadmap for living in harmony with each other and with the forces that shape our existence. And as we'll see next, these lessons weren't just confined to the realm of myth. They were woven into the daily lives and rituals of the cultures that told them, becoming a living part of their identity and values. So, let's explore how these ancient narratives moved beyond storytelling to shape the very fabric of society, influencing everything from governance to spiritual practices. Myths have long been a way for cultures to grapple with the idea of justice, divine justice, to be exact. These stories often present a world where the gods themselves act as the ultimate arbiters of right and wrong, ensuring that actions have consequences. Take the Greek Furies, for instance. These terrifying goddesses of vengeance weren't just figments of imagination. They were symbols of the unyielding force of justice. When someone committed a grave crime like murder or betrayal, the Furies would pursue them relentlessly, refusing to let the guilty escape punishment. Their presence in myths wasn't just about fear, it was about reinforcing the idea that no one could evade accountability. These stories served as a powerful reminder that justice, even if delayed, would always prevail. But divine justice isn't always about punishment, it's also about balance. In Hindu mythology, the concept of karma embodies this idea perfectly. Karma isn't just a cosmic scorecard, it's a principle that every action, good or bad, has consequences that ripple through time. If someone commits an act of cruelty or greed, they aren't just harming others, they're sowing seeds that will eventually bear fruit in their own lives. Conversely, acts of kindness and righteousness create positive outcomes, not just for the individual but for the world around them. This belief in a moral order provided comfort, assuring people that even in a seemingly chaotic world, there was a system of fairness at work. It wasn't just about fear of punishment, it was about the hope that goodness would ultimately be rewarded. These myths didn't just address individual behavior, they also offered explanations for larger, often inexplicable events. When natural disasters struck or when suffering seemed senseless, myths provided a way to make sense of the chaos. For example, the story of the flood in the Epic of Gilgamesh isn't just a tale of survival, it's a narrative about divine justice. The gods send the flood to cleanse the earth of humanity's corruption, but they spare Utnapishtim and his family as a reward for his righteousness. This story, echoed in other flood myths around the world, suggests that suffering isn't random, it's a response to human actions, a way for the divine to restore balance. What's fascinating is how these myths often blur the line between justice and mercy. In many stories, the gods aren't just stern enforcers, they're also capable of compassion and understanding. Take the Greek myth of Prometheus, who defies Zeus to bring fire to humanity. While Zeus punishes Prometheus for his rebellion, the story also highlights the Titan's selflessness and the value of his gift to humanity. It's a reminder that justice isn't always black and white. It's a complex interplay of law, morality, and sometimes even grace. By weaving these themes into their stories, ancient cultures created a framework for understanding the world and their place in it. Myths offered reassurance that wrongdoing wouldn't go unpunished, that suffering had meaning, and that the universe, despite its challenges, was ultimately just. They provided a sense of order in a world that could often feel unpredictable and unfair. And as we'll see next, these narratives didn't just stay in the realm of the divine. They influenced how people understood and responded to the natural world around them, shaping everything from daily rituals to broader philosophical beliefs. So, let's explore how myths became a lens through which ancient societies interpreted the mysteries of nature and the cycles of life. Myths have always been more than just stories. They've been tools for understanding the most difficult aspects of life. Take the Greek myth of Pandora's box, for example. In this tale, Pandora, the first woman created by the gods, is given a jar filled with all the evils of the world. Despite being warned not to open it, her curiosity gets the better of her, and she unleashes pain, sickness, and despair into the world. But here's the twist: at the bottom of the jar, there's one thing left: hope. This story isn't just about the origins of suffering. It's a profound exploration of how hope endures even in the darkest times. For the ancient Greeks, this myth wasn't just an explanation for why bad things happen. It was a reminder that even in the face of chaos, humanity has the resilience to carry on. Similarly, the Norse myth of Ragnarok offers a striking perspective on suffering and renewal. In this apocalyptic tale, the gods face their ultimate doom as the world is consumed by fire and ice. Monsters rise, battles rage, and even the mightiest deities fall. But Ragnarok isn't just an end, it's a beginning. From the ashes of destruction, a new world emerges, fertile and full of promise. This cyclical view of suffering and rebirth provided the Norse people with a way to make sense of life's hardships. It taught them that even in the face of total loss, there's always the potential for renewal. The story of Ragnarok isn't just about despair. It's about the enduring belief that after the darkest night, the sun will rise again. What's fascinating is how these myths, though rooted in different cultures, share a common thread. They don't just explain suffering, they give it meaning. The story of Pandora's box shows that suffering is intertwined with human curiosity and imperfection, but it also reminds us that hope is always within reach. Ragnarok, on the other hand, frames suffering as part of a larger cycle where destruction is necessary for creation. These narratives don't just describe the world as it is, they offer a way to navigate it, providing comfort and guidance in the face of life's inevitable challenges. But myths didn't stop at offering explanations. They also provided practical lessons for coping with hardship. In many traditions, stories of suffering were paired with tales of resilience and perseverance. Take the Babylonian myth of Gilgamesh, who loses his closest friend, Enkidu, and embarks on a quest for immortality. Through his journey, Gilgamesh learns that while death and loss are unavoidable, the legacy we leave behind through our actions and relationships gives life its meaning. This story doesn't just explain the pain of loss, it offers a roadmap for finding purpose in the face of it. These myths weren't just abstract ideas, they were woven into the fabric of daily life, shaping how people approached their struggles. By framing suffering as part of a larger narrative, myths gave individuals a sense of agency and hope. They taught that hardships weren't random or meaningless, they were part of a greater story, one that often led to growth, renewal, or deeper understanding. This perspective helped people endure, not just by accepting suffering, but by finding purpose within it. As we move forward, we'll see how these lessons in resilience and hope were adapted across different cultures, each adding its own unique voice to the conversation. From the trials of heroes to the wisdom of sages, myths continue to remind us that even in our darkest moments, there's always a glimmer of light, and that light is what guides us forward. One of the most fascinating aspects of mythology is how the same core lessons can appear across vastly different cultures, each shaped by its own environment, values, and history. Take flood myths, for example. These stories appear in cultures separated by vast distances and centuries, yet they share striking similarities. In the biblical story of Noah's Ark, humanity's wickedness leads to a divine flood, sparing only Noah and his family, who are tasked with repopulating the earth. This narrative emphasizes themes of divine judgment, obedience, and renewal, reflecting the values of a society deeply rooted in monotheism and moral accountability. The flood isn't just a punishment, it's a reset, a chance for humanity to begin again with a clearer understanding of right and wrong. Halfway across the world, the Mesopotamian epic of Gilgamesh tells a similar tale. Here, the gods send a flood to wipe out humanity, but Utnapishtim, a wise and righteous man, is warned in advance and builds a boat to save his family and animals. Like Noah, Utnapishtim survives the deluge and is granted immortality as a reward for his virtue. Yet, while the story shares themes of divine wrath and survival, it also reflects the concerns of a culture living in the unpredictable floodplains of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. For the Mesopotamians, the flood wasn't just a moral lesson, it was a reflection of their lived reality, a reminder of nature's power and the need for human resilience. Even further afield, in the Aboriginal Dreamtime stories of Australia, flood myths take on a different tone. These narratives, passed down through generations, often describe how ancestral spirits used floods to shape the land, carving out rivers, valleys, and sacred sites. While the stories may not focus on moral judgment or divine punishment, they still carry profound lessons about respect for the natural world and the interconnectedness of all life. For the Aboriginal people, the flood is a symbol of creation and transformation, a reminder that the land itself holds wisdom and must be treated with reverence. Despite their differences, these flood myths share a common thread. They all use the power of storytelling to convey universal truths about humanity's relationship with the divine, the natural world, and each other. Whether it's the call to moral accountability in the Bible, the celebration of wisdom and resilience in Gilgamesh, or the deep ecological wisdom of the Dreamtime stories, these narratives reflect the values and priorities of the cultures that told them. And yet, they also remind us that certain lessons like the importance of humility, cooperation, and respect for the forces beyond our control are timeless and universal. But myths didn't just teach lessons about morality and survival, they also provided guidance on leadership and governance. In many cultures, myths served as blueprints for rulers, offering examples of both good and bad leadership. From the wise and just kings of ancient epics to the flawed and tragic rulers of Greek tragedy, these stories provided a framework for understanding the qualities that make a leader effective or destructive. As we'll explore next, myths have long been a way for societies to reflect on the responsibilities of power and the qualities that define a true leader. Mythology has always been a mirror for leadership, reflecting both the heights of wisdom and the pitfalls of folly. Think of King Arthur, the legendary ruler of Camelot, whose story is as much about his noble ideals as it is about his tragic flaws. Arthur's Round Table, where every knight had an equal voice, was a revolutionary idea of shared leadership and collective responsibility. But his downfall, rooted in personal mistakes and the betrayal of those he trusted, shows how even the greatest leaders are vulnerable to human error. Arthur's tale teaches us that true leadership isn't just about vision or charisma. It's about humility, accountability, and the ability to learn from one's mistakes. His legacy reminds us that a leader's strength lies not in their power but in their ability to serve others and uphold justice. On the other end of the spectrum, we have figures like Oedipus, whose story serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked pride and ignorance. Oedipus, the king of Thebes, is a man of intelligence and determination, but his inability to see the truth, both about himself and his actions, leads to his undoing. His tragic flaw, or hamartia, isn't just his arrogance, it's his refusal to confront the uncomfortable realities staring him in the face. The myth of Oedipus teaches us that leadership demands self-awareness and the courage to face difficult truths even when they're painful. It's a stark reminder that ignoring responsibility or failing to listen to others can have devastating consequences, not just for the leader but for the entire community. Then there's Emperor Yu of China, a figure often celebrated for his wisdom and dedication. Unlike many rulers who sought power for its own sake, Yu is remembered for his tireless efforts to control the floods that plagued his people. Instead of delegating the work to others, he rolled up his sleeves and worked alongside his subjects, digging canals and redirecting rivers for years. His story is a powerful example of servant leadership, the idea that a ruler's primary role is to serve their people, not themselves. Yu's humility and commitment to the greater good made him a model leader, showing that true greatness is measured not by personal glory but by the impact one has on others. What's striking about these stories is how they all emphasize the same core lesson. Leadership is a responsibility, not a privilege. Whether it's Arthur's vision of equality, Oedipus's cautionary fall from grace, or Yu's selfless service, these myths reinforce the idea that a leader's actions have profound consequences for their people. They teach us that good leadership requires more than just intelligence or strength. It demands integrity, empathy, and a deep sense of duty. A leader who forgets this, who prioritizes their own desires over the needs of their community, risks not only their own downfall but the well-being of those they are meant to protect. But myths don't just focus on individual leaders, they also explore the delicate balance between personal ambition and societal expectations. Take the story of Gilgamesh, the king of Uruk, who begins his reign as a tyrant obsessed with his own power and legacy. It's only through his friendship with Enkidu and the trials they face together that Gilgamesh learns the value of humility and the importance of serving his people. His transformation from a selfish ruler to a wise and compassionate leader shows that true growth comes from recognizing one's place within a larger community. It's a lesson that resonates today. Leadership isn't about standing above others, it's about standing with them. These myths also remind us that leadership is inherently relational. A leader's success depends not just on their own abilities, but on their ability to inspire, listen, and collaborate. Whether it's Arthur's knights, Yu's laborers, or the advisors who try to warn Oedipus, these stories highlight the importance of surrounding oneself with diverse voices and perspectives. They teach us that leadership is a collective effort rooted in mutual respect and shared purpose. As we move forward, we'll see how these lessons in leadership extend beyond the realm of rulers and kings, shaping the way societies understood their roles and responsibilities. From the bonds of community to the dynamics of power, myths continue to offer timeless insights into what it means to lead and what it means to truly serve. So, let's explore how these ancient stories not only shaped leaders, but also the very fabric of the societies they governed. Myths have always been a space to explore the delicate dance between individual desires and the needs of society, a tension that's as old as humanity itself. Take the story of Antigone, for example. In this Greek tragedy, Antigone defies King Creon's decree by burying her brother Polynices, who has been branded a traitor. Her act of rebellion isn't just about family loyalty. It's a profound statement about the limits of authority and the moral duty to honor the dead. Antigone's story forces us to ask, when personal convictions clash with societal laws which should take precedence, through her sacrifice, the myth teaches us that there are moments when standing up for what's right, even at great personal cost, is a necessary act of courage. It's a lesson in balancing self-interest with a deeper sense of responsibility to something greater than oneself. Then there's the Maori legend of Maui, the trickster hero who often walks the line between ambition and recklessness. In one tale, Maui seeks to win immortality for humanity by attempting to reverse the cycle of life and death. His boldness is admirable, but his failure, brought on by his inability to follow instructions and respect boundaries, serves as a cautionary tale. Maui's story reminds us that while individual ambition can drive progress, it must be tempered by humility and a respect for the collective wisdom of the community. His downfall isn't just a personal tragedy, it's a warning about the dangers of prioritizing personal glory over the well-being of others. These myths don't just present moral dilemmas, they offer frameworks for navigating them. They show that the tension between individual desires and societal responsibilities isn't something to be resolved easily, but rather something to be grappled with thoughtfully. The stories of Antigone and Maui teach us that the choices we make in these moments define not just who we are, but the kind of world we help to create. They remind us that true wisdom lies in recognizing when to assert ourselves and when to yield, when to fight for what we believe in, and when to listen to the voices around us. What's remarkable is how these myths don't provide easy answers. Instead, they invite us to reflect on the complexity of human nature and the challenges of living in a community. Antigone's defiance and Maui's ambition aren't painted as purely heroic or foolish, they're presented as deeply human, filled with both strength and flaws. This nuanced approach allows listeners to see themselves in these characters, to wrestle with the same questions, and to find their own path toward balance and integrity. But myths didn't just explore the tension between the individual and society. They also offered guidance on how to navigate the complexities of love and relationships. From the passionate romances of gods and mortals to the quiet devotion of lifelong partners, myths have always been a way to explore the many facets of love. Whether it's the tragic tale of Orpheus and Eurydice, the enduring bond of Isis and Osiris, or the playful courtship of Freyja and Arthur, these stories remind us that love, in all its forms, is a powerful force, one that can inspire, challenge, and transform us. As we'll see next, these narratives didn't just entertain, they taught profound lessons about connection, sacrifice, and the enduring power of the heart. Love in mythology is never simple. It's a force that can build bridges or burn them down, that can unite gods and mortals or tear them apart. Take the story of Cupid and Psyche, for instance. Psyche, a mortal woman of extraordinary beauty, becomes the object of Venus's jealousy, leading her to fall in love with Cupid, the god of desire, but with a catch. Cupid forbids her from seeing his true form, and when her curiosity gets the better of her, their relationship is thrown into chaos. What follows is a journey of trials, trust, and ultimate redemption. This myth isn't just a love story, it's a lesson in vulnerability and the power of perseverance. Psyche's willingness to endure unimaginable challenges to reunite with Cupid shows us that love isn't just about passion. It's about sacrifice, resilience, and the courage to confront our deepest fears. Then there's the Indian tale of Savitri and Satyavan, a story that takes the transformative power of love to its most profound extreme. When Savitri learns that her beloved Satyavan is fated to die within a year of their marriage, she doesn't turn away. Instead, she accompanies him into the forest where she confronts Yama, the god of death himself. Through her wit, devotion, and unwavering love, Savitri negotiates with Yama to restore Satyavan's life. This myth isn't just about love conquering death. It's about the strength of commitment and the lengths to which love can drive us to protect what matters most. Savitri's story teaches us that love isn't passive, it's an active force, one that demands courage, cleverness, and an unshakable belief in the impossible. But myths don't just celebrate love's triumphs, they also explore its darker, more complicated sides. The story of Orpheus and Eurydice is a haunting reminder of love's fragility. When Eurydice dies on their wedding day, Orpheus descends into the underworld to bring her back, armed only with his music and his grief. Hades, moved by Orpheus's song, agrees to let Eurydice return to the living world, but on one condition: Orpheus must not look back at her until they reach the surface. Tragically, he fails and Eurydice is lost to him forever. This myth isn't just about loss, it's about the human tendency to doubt, to second guess, and to let fear sabotage even our most heartfelt efforts. Orpheus's story reminds us that love, while powerful, is also vulnerable to our own imperfections. What's striking about these myths is how they portray love as both a source of immense strength and a mirror for our deepest insecurities. Whether it's Psyche's trials, Savitri's defiance of death, or Orpheus's tragic failure, these stories show us that love isn't just an emotion, it's a journey. It challenges us to grow, to confront our weaknesses, and to believe in something greater than ourselves. And while these tales often end in triumph or tragedy, they all share a common thread. Love, in all its forms, has the power to transform us in ways we never imagined. Yet, as much as myths celebrate love's ability to overcome obstacles, they also acknowledge its limitations, particularly when it comes to the inevitability of death. The story of Isis and Osiris in Egyptian mythology is a poignant example. When Osiris is murdered by his jealous brother Set, Isis's love for him drives her to gather his scattered pieces and restore him to life, albeit temporarily. Their reunion results in the birth of their son, Horus, who avenges his father's death. This myth isn't just about resurrection, it's about the cycle of life, death, and renewal. It shows us that while love can defy death in some ways, it can't erase it entirely, and that acceptance is often the final, hardest lesson of all. These stories don't just explore the boundaries of love, they also invite us to reflect on our own relationships and the choices we make within them. Whether it's the trust tested in Cupid and Psyche, the devotion shown by Savitri, or the heartbreaking loss of Orpheus, myths remind us that love is as much about the journey as it is about the destination. And as we'll see next, these tales of love often lead us to an even deeper question. How do we confront the inevitability of death? And what does it mean to live a life that honors those we've loved and lost? Death has always been one of humanity's greatest mysteries, and myths have long served as a way to explore its meaning and consequences. In the Egyptian Book of the Dead, death isn't portrayed as an end but as a transition, a journey to the afterlife where the soul is judged and, if found worthy, granted eternal peace. This ancient text, filled with spells and prayers, was more than just a guide for the deceased. It was a roadmap for the living, teaching them how to live a life of integrity and virtue. The idea that one's actions in life would determine their fate in the afterlife offered a powerful incentive to live ethically. It wasn't just about avoiding punishment, it was about earning a place among the gods, becoming part of a divine order that transcended the mortal world. For the Egyptians, this belief provided comfort, assuring them that death wasn't the final word. It was a passage to something greater. The Greek myth of Orpheus and Eurydice takes a different approach, focusing not on the afterlife itself, but on the human struggle to accept loss. When Orpheus loses Eurydice to death, his grief drives him to descend into the underworld, pleading with Hades to bring her back. His music moves even the gods, and they grant his request, but with a condition he ultimately fails to meet. Orpheus's story isn't just about love, it's about the inevitability of death and the pain of letting go. His tragic failure to bring Eurydice back to life serves as a poignant reminder that some things, no matter how deeply we desire them, are beyond our control. This myth doesn't offer easy comfort, but it does provide a profound lesson. that acceptance is an essential part of the human experience, and that even in the face of loss, life continues. These stories, though rooted in different cultures, share a common thread. They help people confront their mortality and find meaning in existence. The Egyptian Book of the Dead emphasizes the importance of living a virtuous life, while the myth of Orpheus teaches us to cherish what we have while we have it. Both narratives offer a way to navigate the fear and uncertainty that death brings, providing frameworks for understanding and acceptance. They remind us that death is not just an end but a part of a larger cycle, one that connects us to something beyond ourselves. But myths didn't just address death and the afterlife, they also explored humanity's relationship with the natural world. Many cultures saw the environment as sacred, believing that the earth itself was imbued with divine power. In the Native American tradition, for example, the earth is often personified as a living being, a mother who provides for her children but also demands respect and care. Myths about the environment weren't just stories, they were lessons in stewardship, teaching people to live in harmony with the natural world rather than exploiting it. These narratives emphasized the interconnectedness of all life, reminding listeners that the health of the earth was tied to their own survival. Similarly, in Hindu mythology, the concept of dharma extends beyond human relationships to include the natural world. Stories about the goddess Bhumi, who embodies the earth, highlight the importance of protecting and nurturing the environment. These myths weren't just about reverence, they were about responsibility, teaching that the well-being of the earth was a moral duty. By framing environmental stewardship as a sacred obligation, these stories encouraged people to think beyond their immediate needs and consider the long-term impact of their actions. What's remarkable is how these myths, though ancient, still resonate today. They remind us that death and the environment are not separate concerns but interconnected aspects of life. Both require us to think beyond ourselves, to consider our place in a larger web of existence. Whether it's the journey of the soul in the afterlife or the care we take to protect the earth, these stories teach us that our actions have consequences not just for ourselves but for the world around us. And as we'll see next, these lessons weren't just confined to the realm of myth. They were woven into the rituals, laws, and daily practices of the cultures that told them, shaping their understanding of the world and their role within it. Myths have long been a way for cultures to express their reverence for the natural world, weaving lessons of ecological wisdom into stories that resonate across generations. Take the Native American legend of the Thunderbird, a powerful spirit being whose wings create thunder and whose eyes flash lightning. This myth isn't just about a majestic creature, it's a reminder of nature's immense power and the need to respect it. The Thunderbird symbolizes the forces of weather and the environment, teaching listeners that humans are not masters of the earth but part of a delicate balance. By portraying nature as something both awe-inspiring and sacred, the story encourages humility and respect, urging people to live in harmony with the world around them. Similarly, the Polynesian legend of Maui slowing the sun offers a vivid lesson about humanity's relationship with the environment. In this tale, Maui, the trickster hero, notices that the sun moves too quickly across the sky, leaving people with too little time to work and grow food. Using his cunning and strength, he captures the sun and forces it to slow its pace, ensuring that days are long enough for life to flourish. This myth doesn't just celebrate Maui's ingenuity, it underscores the idea that humans have a responsibility to work with nature, not against it. By altering the sun's path, Maui doesn't destroy or dominate it, he negotiates a balance that benefits both people and the natural world. It's a powerful metaphor for sustainability, showing that innovation and respect can go hand in hand. What makes these stories so compelling is how they frame the environment as something alive and interconnected. In the Thunderbird myth, nature is personified as a being with its own will and power, while Maui's story portrays the sun as a force that can be reasoned with but not controlled. These narratives teach that the earth isn't just a resource to exploit, it's a partner in the journey of life, one that demands care and understanding. They remind us that our survival depends on recognizing our place within the natural order, not trying to dominate it. But myths didn't just teach respect for nature, they also provided practical wisdom for living sustainably. For example, many indigenous stories emphasize the importance of taking only what is needed and giving back to the earth. The Cherokee tradition of thanking the animals they hunted or the Maori practice of honoring the forests they harvested reflect a deep understanding of reciprocity. These practices, rooted in myth and tradition, highlight the idea that humans are stewards of the earth, not its owners. By teaching listeners to live in harmony with their surroundings, myths offered a blueprint for sustainability long before the concept became a modern buzzword. What's remarkable is how relevant these ancient lessons remain today. In a world grappling with climate change and environmental degradation, the Thunderbird and Maui stories feel more urgent than ever. They remind us that the Earth's balance is fragile and that our actions have consequences far beyond our immediate needs. These myths challenge us to rethink our relationship with nature, to see it not as something to conquer but as something to cherish and protect. As we shift our focus, it's worth noting that myths didn't just teach respect and balance, they also celebrated creativity and innovation. From the daring exploits of Maui to the transformative powers of deities like Vishnu and Athena, myths have always been a space to explore the boundaries of human imagination and ingenuity. Let's explore how these stories inspired listeners to think beyond the ordinary and embrace the possibilities of innovation. Myths have always been a playground for creativity, celebrating the boundless potential of human ingenuity. Take the Greek tale of Daedalus and Icarus, for instance. Daedalus, a master craftsman, designs wings made of feathers and wax to escape imprisonment. It's a story that captures the thrill of invention, the moment when imagination takes flight, quite literally. But it also carries a warning. Icarus, his son, flies too close to the sun, his wings melting as he plummets into the sea. This myth isn't just about the joy of creation. It's a reminder that innovation comes with risks. It teaches us that while creativity can lift us to incredible heights, it demands caution and respect for the limits of our designs. The story of Daedalus and Icarus is a testament to the double-edged nature of ingenuity, inspiring us to dream boldly while remaining grounded in wisdom. Across the globe, the Yoruba people of West Africa tell the story of Ogun, the god of iron, warfare, and craftsmanship. Ogun isn't just a deity, he's a symbol of transformation and progress. Legend has it that Ogun cleared a path through the wilderness with his machete, allowing humanity to build villages and forge tools. His mastery over iron represents the power of innovation to reshape the world, turning raw materials into instruments of survival and progress. Yet, Ogun's story also carries a sobering truth. The same tools that build can also destroy. His dual nature, as both protector and destroyer, reflects the delicate balance of creativity and responsibility. Through Ogun, listeners learn that innovation is not just about what we create, but how we use it. These myths don't just celebrate the act of creation, they explore its consequences. In the story of Daedalus, the invention of wings brings freedom but also tragedy. In Ogun's tale, the mastery of iron brings civilization but also the potential for conflict. These narratives remind us that creativity is never neutral. It's a force that can uplift or unravel, depending on how it's wielded. They challenge us to think not just about what we can create, but why we create, and what kind of world we want to build with our innovations. But myths didn't just inspire adults to push boundaries, they also sparked the imaginations of children. Many cultures adapted these tales to make them accessible to younger audiences, simplifying the language and emphasizing the wonder of discovery. The story of Icarus, for example, might be told to children as a lesson about listening to guidance, while Ogun's tale could focus on the excitement of building and making. By tailoring these stories to different audiences, myths ensured that their lessons reached everyone, from the youngest dreamers to the wisest elders. What's remarkable is how these ancient stories continue to resonate today. In a world driven by technological advancements and rapid change, the myths of Daedalus and Ogun remind us that creativity is both a gift and a responsibility. They challenge us to dream boldly, but also to think carefully about the impact of our innovations. And as we'll see next, these lessons didn't just stay in the realm of myth. They shaped the way societies approached education, storytelling, and the passing down of wisdom. So, let's explore how myths became a living part of culture, inspiring generations to embrace the power of creativity and the lessons it carries. Myths have always had a special place in the hearts of children, serving as both entertainment and education in one captivating package. Take Aesop's Fables, for example, a collection of short stories featuring animals as the main characters, each tale packed with a clear moral lesson. In The Tortoise and the Hare, the slow-moving tortoise teaches the value of perseverance and humility, while the boastful hare learns that overconfidence can lead to failure. These stories, with their simple yet vivid imagery, were designed to capture a child's imagination while delivering timeless wisdom. By using animals as stand-ins for human traits, Aesop made complex ideas accessible, allowing young listeners to grasp the importance of virtues like patience, honesty, and hard work without feeling overwhelmed. Similarly, the Jataka tales from Buddhist tradition use animals and simple narratives to convey profound moral lessons. These stories, which recount the past lives of the Buddha, often feature characters like wise monkeys, selfless deer, or clever jackals. In one famous tale, a monkey king sacrifices himself to save his troop from a hunter, embodying the virtue of selflessness. The simplicity of the storytelling, combined with the emotional resonance of the characters, makes these tales particularly effective for young audiences. They don't just teach children how to behave, they inspire them to think about the kind of person they want to become. What makes these stories so enduring is their ability to distill complex moral concepts into relatable, bite-sized lessons. By using animals as protagonists, myths like Aesop's Fables and the Jataka tales create a sense of distance that allows children to reflect on the lessons without feeling directly judged. A child might see themselves in the clever crow who uses stones to raise the water level in a pitcher, or in the foolish lion who underestimates the tiny mouse. These stories don't preach, they invite children to draw their own conclusions, fostering critical thinking and empathy in the process. But the appeal of these tales goes beyond their moral lessons. They also tap into the universal love of storytelling, the rhythm of a well-told myth, the vivid imagery of talking animals, and the satisfying resolution of a moral dilemma all work together to create a memorable experience. For children, these stories aren't just lessons, they're adventures filled with excitement, humor, and heart. And because they're so engaging, the lessons they teach tend to stick, shaping the way young minds understand the world and their place in it. The influence of these myths extends far beyond childhood. Many of the moral frameworks we carry into adulthood are rooted in the stories we heard as children. The idea that slow and steady wins the race, or that kindness is never wasted, often traces back to these early narratives. And while the tales themselves may have been simplified, the values they impart are anything but. They lay the foundation for a lifetime of ethical thinking, encouraging us to strive for fairness, compassion, and integrity. Even today, the legacy of these myths lives on in modern storytelling. Think of the countless children's books, animated films, and TV shows that use animals or fantastical creatures to teach lessons about friendship, courage, and responsibility. From The Lion King to Finding Nemo, these stories owe a debt to the ancient tradition of using simple, engaging narratives to convey complex ideas. They remind us that while the world may have changed, the need for moral guidance remains as strong as ever. As we look ahead, it's clear that myths will continue to play a vital role in shaping the next generation. Whether through classic tales or new adaptations, these stories offer a way to explore life's big questions in a way that's both accessible and profound. And as we'll see next, their influence isn't just limited to children. Myths have also shaped the way societies understand leadership, justice, and the responsibilities we hold toward one another. So let's dive deeper into how these ancient narratives continue to inspire and guide us, even in the complexities of modern life. Mythology isn't just confined to ancient scrolls or dusty tomes. It's alive and thriving in the stories we tell today. From blockbuster movies to beloved children's books, modern media has become a vibrant canvas for the timeless themes of myth. Take The Lion King, for example. At its heart, this iconic Disney film is a retelling of Shakespeare's Hamlet, but it's also deeply rooted in mythological archetypes. Simba's journey from a guilt-ridden outcast to a rightful king mirrors the classic hero's journey, echoing tales like Hercules' trials or Rama's exile. Through Simba's struggles, the film teaches lessons about responsibility, redemption, and the importance of facing one's past, lessons that resonate just as powerfully today as they did in ancient myths. And let's not forget Mufasa's timeless advice, remember who you are. It's a modern echo of the mythological call to self-discovery, reminding us that our identity and purpose are tied to something greater than ourselves. Then there's Harry Potter, a series that's practically steeped in mythological references, from the hero's journey structure to the symbolic battles between light and dark. K. Rowling's wizarding world taps into age-old archetypes. Harry's story isn't just about magic, it's about the power of love, sacrifice, and the choices that define us. The recurring theme of the Chosen One mirrors mythic figures like King Arthur or even the Buddha, who are destined to fulfill a greater purpose. But what makes Harry Potter particularly compelling is how it modernizes these themes. Harry isn't a perfect hero, he's flawed, vulnerable, and often unsure of himself. This relatability makes the moral lessons of the story, like the importance of friendship, courage, and standing up for what's right, even more impactful. By weaving ancient wisdom into a contemporary setting, Harry Potter keeps mythological storytelling alive for a new generation. But it's not just children's media that draws on these themes. Think of Game of Thrones, a series that blends medieval history with mythological storytelling. The show's complex characters and moral dilemmas, like Jon Snow's struggle between duty and love, or Daenerys' descent into tyranny, reflect the nuanced lessons of ancient myths. These stories don't offer easy answers. They challenge viewers to grapple with questions of power, loyalty, and the consequences of ambition. In this way, Game of Thrones becomes a modern myth in its own right, exploring the same timeless questions that have fascinated humanity for centuries. What's remarkable about these modern adaptations is how they manage to make ancient wisdom feel fresh and relevant. By setting mythological themes in contemporary contexts, they allow audiences to connect with these lessons on a personal level. Whether it's Simba's journey of self-discovery, Harry's battle against darkness, or Jon Snow's moral dilemmas, these stories remind us that the human experience hasn't changed all that much. The challenges we face, finding our place in the world, standing up for what's right, and understanding the consequences of our actions, are the same challenges that myths have been exploring for millennia. And it's not just about entertainment. These modern myths also serve as a bridge connecting us to the wisdom of the past. They remind us that storytelling isn't just a way to pass the time, it's a way to make sense of the world and our place in it. By drawing on mythological themes, contemporary media keeps these ancient lessons alive, ensuring that they continue to shape our understanding of morality and human nature. In a world that often feels fragmented and fast-paced, these stories offer a sense of continuity, grounding us in the timeless truths that myths have always sought to teach. But perhaps the most powerful aspect of mythological storytelling is its ability to adapt. Just as myths evolved to reflect the values and challenges of their time, modern media continues to reinterpret these stories for new audiences. Whether it's through the magical halls of Hogwarts or the savannas of Pride Rock, these adaptations prove that the core lessons of myth about courage, sacrifice, and the search for meaning are as relevant today as they were thousands of years ago. And as long as we keep telling these stories, the wisdom of the past will continue to guide us into the future. Myths have stood the test of time not because they're ancient, but because they're timeless. For thousands of years, these stories have traveled across generations, cultures, and continents, carrying with them the wisdom of the ages. What makes them so enduring? It's their ability to speak to the core of what it means to be human. Whether it's the struggle between good and evil, the quest for purpose, or the tension between ambition and humility, these themes are universal. They transcend time and place, resonating with us because they reflect the challenges and triumphs we all face. Myths aren't just relics of the past, they're mirrors, showing us who we are and who we can become. One of the reasons myths remain so powerful is their ability to weave complex moral lessons into unforgettable narratives. Think about how stories like the Odyssey or the Ramayana use relatable characters, heroes, villains, and everyday people to explore profound truth. These characters aren't perfect, they're flawed, vulnerable, and deeply human. Their struggles and triumphs feel real, even when they're set in fantastical worlds. It's this relatability that makes myths such effective teaching tools. They don't lecture, they invite us to see ourselves in the story, to reflect on our own choices and values. When we watch Rama wrestle with duty or Icarus ignore his father's warnings, we're not just hearing a tale, we're learning from it. But myths do more than teach, they connect us. Across cultures, these stories create a shared language of symbols and archetypes that unite us. The hero's journey, the trickster figure, the wise mentor, these are characters and patterns that appear in myths from every corner of the globe. They remind us that despite our differences, we're all part of the same human story. This shared heritage is why myths continue to inspire modern storytelling, from novels to films to video games. They provide a framework that feels familiar yet endlessly adaptable, allowing each generation to find new meaning in old tales. Preserving these stories isn't just about honoring the past, it's about shaping the future. In a world that's constantly changing, myths offer a sense of grounding. They remind us of the values that have guided humanity for centuries: courage, compassion, humility, and resilience. By retelling these stories, we pass on not just their lessons but also the tools to navigate life's uncertainties. They teach us how to face challenges, make ethical choices, and find meaning in our struggles. In this way, myths become a bridge between generations, ensuring that the wisdom of the past continues to light the way forward. As we've explored in this video, myths are far more than just entertaining tales. They're a living tradition, a way of understanding the world and our place in it. From the hero's journey to the cautionary tales of hubris, these stories offer insights that are as relevant today as they were thousands of years ago. They teach us about the power of love, the importance of community, and the consequences of our actions. And they remind us that no matter how much the world changes, the fundamental questions of life, who we are, what we stand for, and how we treat one another remain the same. So the next time you hear a myth, whether it's an ancient legend or a modern adaptation, take a moment to reflect on its deeper meaning. What does it teach us about courage, sacrifice, or the human spirit? How does it resonate with your own experiences? And most importantly, how can its lessons help us build a better world? Because that's the true magic of mythology. It doesn't just tell us stories, it helps us write our own. Throughout this journey, we've explored how mythology has served as one of humanity's most profound tools for teaching morality and life lessons. From the cautionary tales of Icarus and Narcissus to the heroic journeys of Hercules and Mulan, these stories have always been more than mere entertainment. They've been mirrors reflecting the values, fears, and aspirations of the cultures that created them, offering timeless wisdom on courage, humility, love, and the consequences of our actions. Whether through the tragedies of Oedipus or the triumphs of Savitri, myths have shown us the power of choice, the importance of balance, and the enduring strength of the human spirit. What makes these stories so remarkable is their universality. Across continents and centuries, myths have addressed the same fundamental questions. What does it mean to be brave? How do we navigate love and loss? What is our responsibility to one another and to the world around us? These themes resonate just as strongly today as they did in ancient times, proving that the human experience hasn't changed as much as we might think. In a world filled with modern complexities, myths continue to offer guidance, reminding us of the values that truly matter: compassion, integrity, and the courage to face life's challenges. As Joseph Campbell once said, myths are public dreams, dreams are private myths. These stories are more than relics of the past, they're living narratives that speak to our deepest hopes and fears. They connect us to something larger than ourselves, providing a framework for understanding the world and our place within it. Whether we're wrestling with personal struggles or global crises, the lessons of mythology remain a source of inspiration and clarity, helping us navigate the uncertainties of life with wisdom and grace. But the beauty of mythology lies not just in its lessons but in its accessibility. These stories invite us to explore, to question, and to reflect. They encourage us to see ourselves in the heroes and villains, to learn from their triumphs and mistakes, and to carry those insights into our own lives. And while the myths themselves may be ancient, their messages are as relevant as ever, offering a compass for navigating the complexities of the modern world. So, what's your favorite myth? Is there a story that stayed with you, shaped your perspective, or inspired you in unexpected ways? Share it in the comments below. We'd love to hear how these timeless tales have touched your life. And if you've enjoyed this exploration of mythology, don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the power of storytelling. Together, let's keep these ancient stories alive, ensuring that their wisdom continues to guide and inspire us for generations to come. After all, as Campbell reminds us, myths aren't just stories, they're the dreams we share, the truths we live by, and the legacy we carry